Hi guys, this is Dan for EvECoPilot.net, and back by popular request is Kana. How you doing, mate? You alright?
I am remarkable.
Fantastic, sir. Yeah, got a lot of people, very positive feedback from the last little interview we did, and you're definitely inquisitive by nature, so we've got you back on again. So yeah, same drill as last time, really. Hopefully you got some more questions for us. So what do you want to know?
Yeah, well, I'm glad to be back. And I guess the questions I want to start talking about is what are we looking at from a fleet aspect? So, for a new player like myself, we know we talked about a couple different roles last time, but I flew a mission with you last week,
Mm-hmm.
and I was assigned the role of a scout,
Yep.
rear scout. And so I'd like to maybe other people would find it helpful to know what that role really entails and maybe some of the fit and some of the responses to think about when we get engaged.
Yeah, definitely. I guess one of the questions that sort of came up with the guys is, sort of how long does it take to sort of get into the fleet, from the last time we were talking, and this really sort of ties into that discussion in the the a fleet is built up of obviously the fleet commander and the members. Most people sort of figure that bit out, but there's a lot more going on um, behind the scenes that a lot of people don't see, sort of in the larger fleets, and that is the roles of basically the forward and the rear scouts, as well as various other scouts, a lot of the time sort of cover ops, and various other roles that will be in strategic locations depending on where we're moving to and what we're planning on. So yeah, I mean, some of the roles that we do put the newer players into is this forward and rear scouting, and basically it sort of goes. It's the next step really in sort of your fleet progression. Okay, so following the orders of the FC is a very simple task, right? Pretty much most people can just come into the game and with a basic understanding of targeting and navigation, as you saw, we spent the sort of that 10-minute video that I've got up is enough for you guys to function in the fleet. Now, where we can go from there, and this is where these small, the ship you're flying at the moment, the Rifter, is absolutely perfect for this role. It's tiny, it's really quick, and that's about all it needs, and it locks people down with the webs. And basically, the role of a rear scout, which is the role we had you in before, is basically anti-bum rush is what it comes down to. So everywhere the fleet moves, what we're basically doing, it's like having a guy looking out the back of your truck. If there's a cop following you, he's going to spot it, right? And it's the same concept. It's just to make sure that, especially if you're at war or you're running through low sec, that the same guy isn't following you around, and sort of what he's probably going to be doing then is relaying the, sort of our location off to his fleet. So the rear scout's role basically is a pair of eyes, and it's a pair of eyes behind the fleet. Now, it's very useful for us because, for example, if there is someone watching us and suddenly the enemy fleet goes, right, we can kill that, then they're going to be chasing us. So what they're going to do is because you're sort of one system behind us as we're moving, it's going to mean that we get that one system's jump on them. So hopefully you're going to notice 50 or 60 or however many hostiles jumping into the system behind you, and then tell me, as a fleet commander, you then let the fleet commander know so he knows what's going on, and at that point he can then sort of make a lot of decisions based off of that. So the more information that you can get from that fleet, the better. So the ships that they're flying, how many of them there are, there's a few key ships that you learn to look for, the logistics, just a quick battleship count, things like that. And again, it comes down to sort of the composition of their fleet, and it's just basically an intel game. You're there to provide that intel to us so that we can make a decision based off of that, whether to basically it's fight or flight. There goes my phone. And yeah, so what then, the information that you hand to us could potentially save the fleet, because if we're flying around, and what they'll do is they'll put a target up for us, so maybe 5 or 6, sort of half of our fleet size is a general rule of thumb in a system, and then the forward scout will see that and we'll go, right, we can kill that easily. And then what they'll then do is run 20 or 30 more people up from behind us, and suddenly we're in a very bad situation. So having you there is just that level of security, really, to again, that anti-bum rush. Now the forward scout is basically the next level up again. So you go from being a fleet member, you then go to being a rear scout, then you go to being a forward scout, and the forward scout role is very similar in that you're, again, just providing intel. It's jumping a single person through a gate to basically potentially save the entire fleet, because for all we know, the next system we jump into could have 300 hostiles in it that are all sat there waiting to kill us. So you jump through ahead of us and go, guys, there's 300 enemies in this system, don't come in. At which point, again, these little light ships are very useful, because they can basically just turn tail and run, hopefully before they die. Whereas if you had a big ship, it would get caught by the enemy and destroyed. Now, on top of that role, you almost become a hunter as such, as a forward scout, because a lot of the times you'll jump into a system, especially if you're doing sort of a low sec roam where anyone's a viable target, and you'll then need to tell us that there's people there, which means we'll then hold on that. We won't jump into that system, we'll wait, and what we're waiting for is for you to find them. Now, the way that you find them differs on what you've got available to you. It's basically a combination of scanning tactics and potentially probing, sort of jumping around the belts, things like that, which is quite, it's easy to understand, very hard to master. And the difference between sort of a good scout, like I was saying to you before, when we were talking about having these key members that you can rely on in the fleet. This is where that really comes into play with that forward, sort of with these forward and rear scout roles, because a good forward scout can find an enemy, get in the right position for us to where we need him to be able to attack him properly, and get that all done within a minute. Whereas a bad scout or a lazy scout, could take 2 or 3 minutes, and that could be the difference between. Basically, you need to be able to find a guy and get in a position where we can move on him quicker or in the same amount of time as it would take you to just jump through the system. Because after that time, this guy will suddenly realise, okay, he's not just passing through, he's here for something's going on, and a lot of times he'll just run to a station or run away, and then we don't get the kill. So these are probably, the rear scout especially is probably the most under recognized role that you have in a fleet, because a lot of the times you're behind the fight, so by the time you actually catch up with the fight, I think you didn't even get a shot off for most of the engagements we did on that room.
Not at all.
And it is a very thankless task in a role. But what you've got to look at, the way you've got to look at that is basically more training, and what that's training you to do is to understand more about. I'm very keen with you especially to get you into these command roles, because I think you're going to be pretty good at it. So throwing you sort of in the deep end that way, although at the moment you're like, I didn't get on that kill mail, I'm just flying around behind the fleet, it could be done by a 10-year-old. It could, but what you're learning from that is what's going on above the fleet, sort of a command level, which then gives you that better understanding to then be able to move into these forward scout roles and eventually hopefully into a fleet commander role. So yeah, I mean the basic fleet composition is basically made up of members, commanders and scouts. Is your basic fleet, and I mean you do get other roles, but therefore sometimes we'll break a fleet down into 2 or 3 different groups, and we'll have squad members for each group. So we might have a logistics group, for example. So you've got 50 battleships, you take out 5 or 7 logistics, and they'll go off in their own separate squad. They'll work with the main fleet squad commander to figure out where they're going, the distances they're warping in, and you'll have a second guy looking after these logistics. Then you could have for example, a third fleet which is made up of stealth bombers, maybe. And there again, so they're all doing completely different roles. So what you then get is you'll get a battleship fleet that will warp in at their optimal range. They'll start engaging. The enemy will start to fight as well, at which point our logistics come in 70 kilometers behind us and start repairing us. So at that point, if the enemy want to stop us getting repped, they've got to do 70k first to get to our logistics. And then whether they decide to do that or not, it doesn't matter, because there's 9 stealth bombers waiting to uncloak and throw bombs at them. So it does sort of grow exponentially. But again, the beauty of EvE is that these new members can just come in and do what they're told, and they can be part of that, and all these complex scenarios and run throughs that we do, and all they have to do, if they just stay in sort of the basic fleet, as we call it, the battleship fleet, and do what they're told, they're going to get on fine, they're going to do their job, and hopefully they'll enjoy it. And all the manic going along around them, and the repairers in the back, and the bombers going off here is all going to be stuff for them to start taking in, I guess. Hopefully that sort of a general run-of-the-mill fleet is just going to be that the fleet commander, the scouts, and then obviously the bulk of what we call the blob force that's sort of running around with us. So that's pretty much how a normal fleet goes.
Well, I think a really great thing for people to know is that it was very exciting. I mean, so in channel there's things happening in fleet, and then on comms there's things happening, and the reality is that when you're part of a team, you're doing things that are critical. It may not seem like it at the time, but it goes back to the first video where you're talking about, doing what you're told, because you may not see the greater picture. But everyone was excited for the kill we got, right?
Mm-hmm.
And,
the Osprey, wasn't it? I believe some
little, right. Some kind of crazy little dude, yeah.
Silly bugger. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen so many people get so excited over an Osprey kill. I sort of warped in and went, oh, you guys were like, yay, a kill.
Well, exactly, right? So, when you got a hunter mentality and you want to go out and find them, and, it's just part of a team thing, and it feels good to, everyone is in chat and in comms saying, oh, yeah, we got him, and, I never saw the guy, but that's cool.
I just saw a wreck floated off.
Yeah, I just saw some stuff in a cargo can,
it is, and that really is, that really doesn't die out. We call it sort of the PvP shakes, where if you're about to fight, or you've got to, when we were waiting on the gate right before we jumped in, and we've gone from that calm, that waiting. Where is it? Have you got him? What during that silence? What was happening was that I was talking to our forward scout, and I was talking to him on a separate channel, and it was a constant. Okay, you've got his location, right? Do this, do that, get me that range. What ship's he in? What's he doing? Where is he at? Just getting as much information. Who else is in the system? Okay, are they in the same corp? So for all the members that are just sat there quite calmly, they're just waiting. Right, and there's just that, what's going on? But for the forward scout, he's working his little butt off right there. He's showing info on 20 different people. He's warping off to here, back to there, bookmarking this. Looking at this ship, zooming in to check out the weapons that are on it, this, that, and the other. And there's a million things for him to do at that point, which makes that the hardest sort of part of it, really, for the forward role. But getting people into that rear scout role is a very, having that gives you that understanding of what's going on. You get that sort of greater scope of the fleet, and it's a role that some people love. I personally love, especially out in nullsec. I love being the forward scout, because you get to jump into a system with like 400 enemies, smack talk them for 10 seconds and run off like a girl, and I love doing it. And they see me, after a few rolls, after we've been out a few times, they figure out that, okay, there's Puppy, he's a scout, which means he's probably being, it's just that it's like walking into, think of it like walking into a boxing ring with 10 bouncers behind you. That's sort of the idea behind it. It's that you know who I am, you know what's coming along behind me. This is going to be a party. And there's nothing they can do about it. I'm going to jump in there, laugh at them, and then the fleet's going to come in behind me and face roll them for it. And that's still.
I love that.
Yeah, it is. It's certainly a lot of fun, but there is a lot These are some of the more advanced tutorials we're getting into now, I guess. But yeah, being a good if you can become a good forward scout and you can figure out how to find these people, how to track them down and get into the right positions and stuff, you are so valuable to a fleet commander because people I think the biggest problem we have in EvE is that people are scared to sort of put themselves out like that. You hear a lot of stuff on the fleet. If you mess up, I'm going to blow you up, and your buddy and your pod and your mother, and you'll die and burn in hell if you say anything. And because of that, you do have to be quite strict about controlling the fleet. But because of that, people are like, well, excuse me, my Darth Vader just walked through the door.
Everyone wants to talk to you today.
Yeah, I know, man. They won't leave me alone. It's all for the love. Yeah, because of that, people are just like, I'm just going to sit in the fleet and not sort of make any ripples. But yeah, it's the people that want to get involved that end up running the fleets themselves, and that's a really big thing as a fleet commander. And it comes back to that finding the people that you get on with, the people that you can rely on, the people that can. Don't get me wrong, like everyone makes mistakes. I mean, I nearly we did. I very nearly got us all blown up. Luckily my spidey senses tingled a little bit, and I was like, smells like a trap. So we ran away like girls, and sure enough, when we jumped through, there was a ton of battleships waiting for us.
Yeah, there were a bunch. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, that would have been ugly to say the least. That's something that just comes with experience, and all I based that off of was I've seen that guy in one of the other systems. Go away, Darth Vader. I don't want to speak to you. I've seen him in another system. Suddenly he's here. There's a couple of other guys that have got, and in that time, like, basically what our forward scout did in the time that we jumped that one system was log on to Battle Clinic, look up 3 characters, look at how active their killing was and where they were, and found out that, okay, these guys have been hunting in this area. And in that time, the rest of the fleet walked across a space system. When we got to the other side, we knew they were hostiles, we knew they hunted in that area, and suddenly it smells like a trap. And it's things like that you're not going to know. You learn to do things like this after you've been ganked a few times, and you learn from your mistakes. And the beauty of having this corp set up the way that it is that you can make those mistakes, and it really doesn't cost you anything, because the guys come back, they get free ships, they have a bit of a giggle about it anyway. We'll come back and blow them up with Tech 1 frigates, and just having that sort of corporation in play, you can see how quickly that could have gone wrong, and a less experienced FC would have probably jumped straight in. When there was that single ship, and he's right there, he's an easy target, why don't we kill him? And there was me going, no, stop it. And little decisions like that is what sort of makes a difference between a win and a loss, a ship or a pod, a war, and that scales up to to a system, to a region. Does my alliance fall apart because we lost this fleet? And yeah, when you get into it, there's some pretty big stakes at play sometimes, and that's when, for me, like the fleet stuff is just awesome. When you know that this is your enemy's last defense, you're in their home system now, and if we win this fight, we kill their station, and they're going to have to move out. They've got to go home if we do this. All their years of effort, all their building up their alliance and breaking out into nullsec, and suddenly we spank them back to Empire. It feels good. Feels very good.
So, Puppy, can I put a little shout out to your viewers real quick and give them a message?
you crack on, sir.
Hey, guys and gals, listen up. This is Kana with Illusions. I want to tell you that if you got to start in EvE and you maybe didn't know what was going on, and I don't know, maybe you enjoyed it for a while and then you didn't, you wanted to get involved in the bigger picture, but you didn't know how, this is a great place to do it. I've had this character for many years. I kind of got off EvE, I got back on EvE as a result of Puppy's videos, and I will tell you right now, come talk to us and sign up. because we're having a great deal of fun. It has been remarkable. In like 2 weeks of time, I've had my best experience in EvE over years, and so there you go. We'll get in the mix, go shoot some people, declare war whenever the powers that be decide that's going to happen. But you get these great kind of tutorials, and if this video is just the surface of what I've received from the members in this corp. So
An utterly shameless plug. I love it. couldn't have asked for anything better there. No, exactly that, mate. We come on and do these videos for, what's coming up to 20 minutes now, and we literally spend all day, sort of in court chat on TeamSpeak, and just helping these guys out, and we're already getting to a position now where, guys like you that joined quite early on, since, from when we opened it up, you're already helping out the guys that are coming in with the question that you've already asked us. And yeah, I mean, this corp is growing so quickly, so much quicker than we thought it was going to. I'm getting bombarded with applications and YouTube questions and emails, and it's brilliant. Bring it on. I'm absolutely chuffed to bits with the warm sort of response that I've got to pretty much every video that goes out. So I guess I'd like to thank you guys as well for that. If no one watches these videos, then it's just me on my own with a microphone, and that's probably not going to be much fun for anyone. So yeah.
Well, I thought it was kind of funny. That people, not to talk over you, but I thought they were like, "Hey, do you have a mining ship? Because we're going to go on some mining stuff to get materials to build ships for all these new folks, right?"
Yeah. I mean, we're sort of, again, sort of the mining stuff is one of those areas where a lot of PvPers sort of frown on it a little bit. They're like, oh, I don't want to do this industrial Careberry malarkey. But then you realise, okay, well, that's where my ship came from. That poor little guy that's out there in his little retriever or whatever it is he's mining in. He built my ship for me. So thinking about it, I better be nice to him. And
well, the ship I'm flying came from you, from the corp. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we can. You can get that blown up all day long, mate. We'll keep throwing them at you. we don't care.
I love that.
I'm tempted to get my drones out, but I won't. Or shall I? Have you got that fit saved?
No.
Okay,
I don't even know what half the icons I have on my screen are yet.
Don't say that.
No, it's the truth.
Oh dear. Yeah, I think that's our slightly technical riff to fit you've got there, but we'll have to go through and explain that to you. But yeah, I think if that sums everything up for you, mate, we'll call that a wrap for a night. I'm going to do another interview with one of our newer members as well shortly after this. So if you've got any other quick questions, mate, or shall we call that a night? Where are you up to?
No, I think that's a night. I think I'm going to go after this video and link up with some of the guys from the corp and go hunting.
Yeah, I think we're about to throw some PvP out, so let's go and get noobs blown up. Alright guys, well, thank you very much for listening, as always. We've got the EvECoPilot channel and the Illusions public channel if you're looking to join the corporation. On top of that, we've also got a forum, which I've been rather neglecting recently, which is at forums.evecopilot.net. So yeah, if you want to get hold of us, you know where we are, and thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again soon.